Andrew Torba here, co-founder and CEO of Gab. I'm watching the Joint Commerce and Judiciary Committee hearing with Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook. Been watching this for over 2 hours now, and so far it's been pretty boring, pretty dry. Most of the committee focusing on the data scandal that is happening right now and name dropping the Russians every 5 minutes. And it really finally got interesting with Senator Cruz's questions. So I'm going to go ahead and replay that for you just in case you missed it. Phenomenal job. By far one of the best engagements of the past 2 hours of this entire hearing. So here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Zuckerberg, welcome. Thank you for being here. Mr. Zuckerberg, does Facebook consider itself a neutral public forum?
Senator, we consider ourselves to be a platform for all ideas.
Let me ask the question again. Does Facebook consider itself to be a neutral public forum? And representatives of your company have given conflicting answers on this. Are you a First Amendment speaker expressing your views, or are you a neutral public forum allowing everyone to speak?
Senator, here's how we think about this. I don't believe that there's...
You'll notice that he can't answer this question. Very important.
Certain content that clearly we do not allow, right? Hate speech, terrorist content, nudity, anything that makes people feel unsafe in the community. From that perspective, that's why we generally try to...
So here, again, he makes the correlation of hate speech and terrorism, right? The promotion of terrorism as if they are one and the same thing. He tries to group these things together. Earlier today, he mentioned that they believe that in the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to have artificial intelligence that will automatically be able to detect and flag and remove hate speech. So let's continue.
To refer to what we do as a platform for all ideas.
Let me try, just because the time is constrained. It's just a simple question. The predicate for Section 230 immunity under the CDA is that you are a neutral public forum. Do you consider yourself a neutral public forum, or are you engaged in political speech, which is your right under the First Amendment?
Well, Senator, our goal is certainly not to engage in political speech. I'm not that familiar with the specific legal language of the law that you speak to, so I would need to follow up with you on that.
Not familiar with Section 230? Anyone who runs an internet business, especially a social network, is 100% familiar with Section 230. So there was a big cop-out right there.
I'm just trying to lay out how broadly I think about this.
Well, Mr. Zuckerberg, I will say there are a great many Americans who I think are deeply concerned that Facebook and other tech companies are engaged in a pervasive pattern of bias and political censorship. There have been numerous instances with Facebook. In May of 2016, Gizmodo reported that Facebook had purposefully and routinely suppressed conservative stories from trending news, including stories about CPAC, including stories about Mitt Romney, including stories about the Lois Lerner IRS scandal, including stories about Glenn Beck. In addition to that, Facebook has initially shut down the Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day page, has blocked a post of a Fox News reporter, has blocked over 24 Catholic pages, and most recently blocked Trump supporters Diamond and Silk's page with 1.2 million Facebook followers after determining their content and brand were, quote, unsafe to the community. To a great many Americans, that appears to be a pervasive pattern of political bias. Do you agree with that assessment?
Senator, let me say a few things about this. First, I understand where that concern is coming from because Facebook and the tech industry are located in Silicon Valley, which is an extremely left-leaning place. And
extremely left-leaning place.
This is actually a concern that I have and that I try to root out in the company is making sure that we don't have any bias in the work that we do. And I think it is a fair concern that that people would at least wonder about.
Let me ask this question. Are you aware of any ad or page that has been taken down from Planned Parenthood?
Senator, I'm not, but let me just...
How about MoveOn.org?
Sorry?
How about MoveOn.org?
I'm not specifically aware of those.
How about any Democratic candidate for office?
I'm not specifically aware. I mean, I'm not sure.
In your testimony, you say that you have 15 to 20,000 people working on security and content review. Do you know the political orientation of those 15 to 20,000 people engaged in content review?
No, Senator. We do not generally ask people about their political orientation when they're joining the company.
So as CEO, have you ever made hiring or firing decisions based on political positions or what candidates they supported?
No.
Why was Palmer Luckey fired?
Ooh, Palmer Luckey, for some background here, that was just a hammer. Ted Cruz is flattening Zuck. Palmer Luckey was the founder of Oculus, the VR headset that Facebook purchased a few years ago. And it was revealed that he was a Trump supporter shortly after, mysteriously, he was removed from the company a little while after that occurred.
That is a specific personnel matter that seems like it would be inappropriate to
You
speak
just made a
here.
specific representation that you didn't make decisions based on political views.
Well,
Is that accurate?
I can commit that it was not because of a political view.
Do you know of those 15 to 20,000 people engaged in content review, how many, if any, have ever supported financially a Republican candidate for office?
Senator, I do not know that.
Your testimony says it is not enough that we just connect people. We have to make sure those connections are positive. It says we have to make sure people aren't using their voice to hurt people or spread misinformation. We have a responsibility not just to build tools, to make sure those tools are used for good. Mr. Zuckerberg, do you feel it's your responsibility to assess users whether they are good and positive connections or ones that those 15 to 20,000 people deem unacceptable or deplorable?
Senator, you're asking about me personally?
Facebook.
Senator, I think that there are a number of things that we would all agree are clearly bad. Foreign interference in our elections, terrorism, self-harm.
I'm
Those
talking
are
about
things.
censorship.
Well, I think that you would probably agree that we should remove terrorist propaganda from the service. So that, I agree, I think is clearly bad activity that we want to get down, and we're generally proud of how well we do at that. Now, what I can say, and I do want to get this in before the end here, is that I am very committed to making sure that Facebook is a platform for all ideas. That is a very important founding principle of what we do. We're proud of the discourse and the different ideas that people can share on the service. And that is something that, as long as I'm running the company, I'm going to be committed to making sure is the case.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Cruz.
So you'll notice how Ted Cruz actually went at Zuckerberg with a lot of specific examples, a lot of specific questions that Zuckerberg inevitably dodges and inevitably tries to compare the political censorship of conservatives, of Trump supporters, of most people on the right end of the political spectrum to terrorism. Okay, those things do not equate the same thing. One is political ideas, political opinions that Zuckerberg and, as he admits, extremely left-wing Silicon Valley do not agree with. And Ted Cruz's point here in asking about some of the political affiliations or the political opinions of the 15,000 employees that are reviewing and removing and flagging and censoring and banning people from the Facebook platform, those types of questions are very important because those people are becoming the arbiters of truth of what is allowed on the platform and what isn't. And if the majority of them are left-leaning, then the right is inevitably going to be censored. So this hearing is still ongoing. They're taking a 5-minute break, but I just wanted to share that part because it's very important, probably the most important interaction of the day. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Remember to speak freely.